Royal Olympic athletes. Thank you to Happy Mammoth for sponsoring this video. Every 4 years, the Olympics draws the very best elite athletes from around the world to its host city. The Games attract many other elites as well. From its origins in ancient Greece to its modern revival in 1896, the Olympics has long been closely associated with royalty. There have even been a handful of princes, princesses, and kings who have made their way onto the field of competition as Olympic athletes. A few have even won gold, silver, or bronze medals to go with their golden crowns. From a Spartan princess who became the first female Olympic champion at a race she wasn't allowed to watch, to games designed specifically for Emperor Nero to win, a gold-winning Greek sailor king, silver-clinching British royal equestrians, and a bronze-decorated handball player who won the heart of a princess. Plus, 2 princes who started their own winter sports teams so they could chase Olympic glory. Let's meet the royals who have practiced and purchased their way into Olympic history. The Ancient Greek Olympics. Beginning in 776 BCE, athletes from across the Hellenic world traveled to Olympia to represent their city-states every 4 years. There were 3 categories of events: athletics, including foot races, discus, and javelin throwing; combat, like wrestling and boxing; and equestrian events, including horse and chariot races. All sports were performed naked. Winners received laurels woven from olive branches. The athletes' exertions honored Zeus, king of the gods. An Olympic truce was declared, and the many wars between the city-states were halted so athletes and spectators could travel safely to the Games. But competition was a way for the city-states to assert dominance on the playing field rather than the battlefield. Much like the Olympic Cold War between the US and Soviet Union in the 20th century, political demonstrations, boycotts, and embargoes were as common during the ancient Olympics as they are today. Athletes hailed from most walks of life. The only requirement to compete was that you be a free-born male. Shepherds, farmers, sailors, and scholars who excelled in sport had a chance to grasp victory and fame. Royals and nobles saw success in the Games as a way to increase their prestige and cement their claims to exalted positions. Plus, they had a number of advantages on their competition. Not needing to plow the fields meant plenty of time to train, and with their wealth, they could hire the best coaches. King Alexander I of Macedon claimed to be a descendant of the demigod Hercules. He competed in foot races during the Games of 504 BCE. Diagoras was a member of the royal family of Rhodes. He was a boxing champion at 2 Olympic Games. His 3 sons went on to even greater success. At the Olympics of 448, they lifted their father onto their shoulders and paraded him around the arena while the crowds cheered. Diagoras' grandsons also won Olympic glory. His daughter, Kalpatara, wanted to see what all the fuss was about, but women were strictly barred from attending. She snuck in the crowd dressed as a man, but was discovered and brought before the judges to be tried for sacrilege on pain of death. She gave an impassioned speech, pleading that if any woman should be allowed to defy the ban, it was she who had a father, brother, and sons who had achieved Olympic victory. She was acquitted, but a new law decreed that even spectators had to strip before entering the arena, so no more women could sneak in. Royals who aspired to Olympic glory but didn't want to break a sweat could win their laurels on the equestrian field. For it was the owner of the horse, not the rider or chariot driver, who was declared the winner. King Demaratus of Sparta had a champion chariot in 504 BCE. Princess Kiniska of Sparta sponsored chariots that won in 396 and 392. She became the first female Olympic winner in history, but because of the ban on women, she heard about it after the fact. King Hieron I of Syracuse had a winning chariot in 476 and 472. He commissioned lyric poems celebrating his triumphs. Philip II, King of Macedon's horses won in 356, 352, and 348. His son, Alexander the Great, resented all the time and money his father spent on the Olympics. He considered sport to be frivolous and instead focused his energy on conquering the world. However, Alexander had enough respect for the god Zeus never to break the Olympic truce, and he encouraged participation in the games in the new lands that he conquered. Attalus I, king of Pergamon, a recently conquered city-state, sponsored a champion chariot in 240 BCE. By 146, Rome had conquered Greece. The Romans held immense respect for Greek culture, including the Olympic Games. In 3 BCE, Roman Emperor Tiberius took the laurel in a chariot race. When Emperor Nero visited Greece, he won no less than 6 laurels. The events, which included 3 equestrian and 3 artistic additions to the games, were designed specifically for Nero to win. In 310 CE, Emperor Constantine declared the empire Christian. The Olympic Games, which were first and foremost a pagan celebration honoring Zeus, fell out of fashion. They limped along until the early 400s, but when a fire burned down the Temple of Zeus, the Games were discontinued. In the intervening 1500 years, jousting, horse racing, fencing, and tennis were exclusively the rights of the extremely wealthy, those who had leisure time to play and money to purchase expensive equipment. The poor enjoyed their own, cheaper sports, like foot races, boxing, and rugby, but they were often discouraged by the nobility, who thought any time peasants spent on anything other than farming or fighting in their wars was wasted. In Tudor England, all sports except archery were outlawed. In the Renaissance, revived interest in Greek and Roman culture brought the ancient Olympics back into the public consciousness. It was even suggested by French revolutionaries that leap year be given over to a new Olympic Games, but this idea was dropped somewhere around the Reign of Terror. In the late 1800s, a French baron named Pierre de Coubertin was questioning where the decimated aristocracy fit into the modern world. He looked to England, where the upper class had been spared Madame Guillotine and still reigned supreme. Pierre determined that the Brits' success was down to their gentlemanly sporting culture, fostered in elite public schools, in fencing matches, on the horse racing track, and in yachting regattas. He believed that aristocracy and physical superiority were intrinsically linked. It was also seen as the responsibility of the upper class to facilitate international diplomacy. Coubertin was inspired to revive the ancient Greek Olympic Games as a way to bring the world together in a display of gentlemanly virtue. King George I of Greece, who had been born a Danish prince but elected to the Hellenic throne in 1863, was eager to associate his dynasty with ancient Greek culture. So he sponsored Coubertin's first Olympic Games of the modern era in Athens in 1896. The modern Olympics. 14 nations competed in athletics, cycling, fencing, gymnastics, sailing and rowing, shooting, swimming, tennis, weightlifting, and wrestling. Most of these sports were for the super rich and drew very little interest from common people. There were many aristocrats in the first Olympiad, but no royals. However, in the second in Paris in 1900, there were 2 royals, one future royal and one illegitimate royal. Louis Napoleon Murat was a great-nephew of Napoleon, Emperor of the French. He won gold in an equestrian event called the Hack and Hunter Combined, the rules of which have been lost. Joseph, Prince of Caramon-Gimay of Belgium, advanced to the semifinals in fencing. Abby Pratt was a golfer, one of the few sports in which women could participate. She won bronze for the United States. 13 years later, she wed Prince Alexis Karađorđević, claimant to the throne of Serbia. Ferdinand Sanz was the illegitimate son of King Alfonso XII of Spain and an opera singer. He won silver in the cycling sprint. In 1912, in Stockholm, Sweden, 3 princes from monarchies that were about to be abolished took part in the Games. Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich Romanov was a cousin of Tsar Nikolai II of Russia. He competed in the equestrian event and finished 5th in team and 9th individually. Dmitry was later part of the group that assassinated Grigory Rasputin. The Tsar banished him from Russia. But because he was out of the country, he survived the massacre of the imperial family during the revolution. He died in Switzerland in 1942, age 50. Prince Ernst zu Hohenlohen of the Austrian Empire competed in fencing, but was eliminated in the preliminary rounds. Prince Friedrich Karl of Prussia, a grand-nephew of Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany, won bronze in show jumping. During the First World War, the prince was a fighter pilot. He was shot down and killed at the age of 24. The 1916 Games were scheduled for Berlin, but they were cancelled. After the war in 1920, the Olympics were held in Antwerp, Belgium, and Germany and its allies were banned. The aristocracy from these and other European nations had been decimated by the war. Many who survived no longer had the money to lavish on thoroughbreds and yachts. The war and the revolutions that followed shook up the social order. The superiority of the aristocracy was no longer unquestioned, and the common people were demanding their own place on the podium. The stands for elite sports were mostly empty, but boxing and football, the sports of the working class, attracted huge crowds. Slowly, organizers caught on to the opportunity. In 1932, the Games were held in Los Angeles, California. Once Hollywood was put in charge, the Olympics became less about displays of aristocratic elitism and more about international public spectacle. Adegboyega Foloranmi Adedoyin was the second son of the Oba, or king of Yoruba, in modern-day Nigeria. While studying medicine at Queen's University in Belfast, Ireland, the prince became the first Nigerian athlete to compete in the Olympics. Because Nigeria didn't have its own team in the 1948 London Games, Adegboyega represented Great Britain. Out of the massive field of competitors, he finished 12th in the high jump and 5th in the long jump. The prince returned to Nigeria to practice obstetrics. In 2012, he was honored by Nigeria for his athletic trailblazing. He died in 2014, age 91. Over the years, many events which appeal to the masses have been added, but the Olympics still involves several elite sports. While they do require athletic ability and extensive training, they also have a high financial bar of entry. In addition to requiring the leisure time needed for serious training, they also involve high-priced equipment like yachts, horses, and ski chalets. And it's in these sports that royals tend to shine. Constantine II, King of Greece. When the crown prince was 18, his parents gave him a Lightning-class sailing boat for Christmas. He spent time training in the Saronic Gulf. Next, the Greek Navy presented the prince with a Dragon-class boat, named Neros, which he decided to sail in the 1960 Olympics in Rome. Constantine was the flag bearer at the opening ceremonies. The regatta took place in Naples in the picturesque port of Santa Lucia. The prince was the helmsman of a 3-person sailing team. They raced 2 hours a day for 7 days against 26 other boats. His parents, King Paul and Queen Frederica, watched the competition from aboard Aristotle Onassis's yacht with Winston Churchill and a reporter who eagerly informed Greeks back home about the prince's progress. The Greek team won the gold medal. On the shore, the champions were doused in champagne and dunked in the sea. Constantine returned home a national hero. 4 years later, he inherited the throne. But in 1967, a military coup abolished his monarchy. He lived in Britain, continued sailing, and served as a member of the International Olympic Committee. He died in 2023, age 83. His older sister, Princess Sofia, was a reserve member of the sailing team. She married King Juan Carlos and became Queen of Spain. Juan Carlos I, King of Spain, was competitive with his brother-in-law. During the 1972 Games in Munich, the prince sailed in the Dragon class event. The team finished 15th. Juan Carlos inherited the throne in 1975. Two of his children were also Olympic sailors. Princess Cristina of Spain was a flag bearer in the 1988 Olympics in Seoul, South Korea. She competed in sailing in the Tornado class and finished 20th. While attending the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, the princess met Spanish handball player Iñaki Urdangarin. His team took home the bronze. He had also been on the team in 1992 and finished in 5th place. Cristina and Iñaki wed in 1997, and he became Duke of Palma. He returned to the Olympics in 2000 and won another bronze. In 2018, Iñaki was convicted of embezzling €6 million of public funds meant for sports events. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, and he and Cristina have since separated. Felipe VI, King of Spain, was the flag bearer for the Spanish team as they basked in their host nation glory at the 1992 Barcelona Games. The handsome 24-year-old prince, who towers at 6'6", got a lot of attention from the press. The Spanish crew finished 6th in the sailing class. Felipe became king in 2014 upon his father's abdication. For millennia, midwives and wise women across the world have been using plants to heal and help women feel their best. The Ayurvedas, written in ancient India, recorded ashwagandha root's ability to calm stress. In ancient Rome, Vestal virgins carried branches from the chaste tree in their rituals and ate its berries to help balance their hormones. And fennel was administered by medieval midwives for a range of gastrointestinal complaints. These are just a few of the high-quality plant-based adaptogens in Hormone Harmony from Happy Mammoth. It helps smooth out all the ups and downs I used to experience during my menstrual cycle, like breakouts, cravings, upset stomach, and insomnia. The biggest difference both I and my family have noticed is my moods are much more stable, and I generally feel like my best self more of the time. Hormone Harmony can help women of any age who are experiencing unpleasant symptoms of menstruation, perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. It's based on the ancient plant knowledge of our foremothers, backed by modern science, and loved by over 17,000 women. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com with the code TEATIME at checkout. That's happymammoth.com with code TEATIME. And now, back to history. From the balmy Mediterranean to the frigid North Sea, another royal dynasty has made a family tradition of sailing through the Olympics. King Olaf V of Norway was crowned prince when he competed in the 1928 Olympics in Amsterdam. His team won a gold medal in the 6-meter event. He became king in 1957. In 1971, the 68-year-old king finished 4th in the World 5.5-meter Sailing Championships. His son, King Harald V of Norway, sailed in 3 Olympics. At the 1964 Games in Tokyo, he was Norway's flag bearer. His team took 8th place. In Mexico City in 1968, he took 11th, and in 1972 in Munich, the prince finished 10th. He became world champion in 1987. In 1991, his father died, and Harald became king of Norway. He was nicknamed the Sailor King. He campaigned heavily for the 1994 Winter Olympics to come to Lillehammer, Norway. At the age of 80, the king sailed in the 2018 World Championship and finished 3rd. Bira, Prince of Siam, was the grandson of King Mongkut, the inspiration for the King and I. The prince was educated at Eton in the UK. He became an F1 race car driver and placed in a few races. He then moved on to sailing. He manned the 2-person keelboat for Thailand at the Olympics in Melbourne, Australia in 1956, Rome in 1960, Tokyo in 1964, and Munich in 1972. His top result was 12th in 1956. Prince Bira suffered a heart attack and died on a London Underground platform in 1985. Sailing is far from the only Olympic sport which has become a royal family tradition. The British royals have been keen on horses for hundreds of years. Anne, Princess Royal, the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II, grew up on horseback. She competed in eventing, the triathlon for horses, which combines dressage, cross-country, and show jumping. The 21-year-old princess and her horse Doublet won a gold medal in the 1971 European Eventing Championships. Anne was voted BBC Sports Personality of the Year. She returned in 1975 and won 2 silver medals. In the 1976 Olympics in Montreal, Canada, Anne rode her mother's horse, Goodwill, in the 3-day equestrian event. Halfway through, she fell and suffered a concussion. She remounted and finished, but she can't remember making the rest of the jumps. The British team had to pull out of the competition after 2 other horses were injured, and the princess missed out on a medal. She continued in other competitions and has been involved in numerous equestrian charities. She was also president of the International Equestrian Federation from 1986 to 94. The princess is a member of the IOC and was an organizer of the 2012 London Games. Anne's love of horses led her to meet her husband, Mark Phillips. He attended the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst and was a captain in the army. He was on the British equestrian team at the 1972 Olympics in Munich. Mark finished 35th individually and his team won a gold medal. Mark wed Princess Anne the next year. He returned to the Olympics in 1988 in Seoul, Korea. His horse was injured and he was unable to compete, but he won silver as part of the British team. Mark wasn't lonely while he was traveling to equestrian competitions without his wife. When a one-night stand showed up with Mark's daughter, the troubled royal marriage came to an end in 1992. Anne and Mark's daughter Zara inherited her parents' passion for horses. She and her horse Toy Town won individual and team gold at the 2005 European Eventing Championship and individual gold and team silver medals at the 2006 FEI World Equestrian Games. Zara was set to compete in both the 2004 and 2008 Olympic Games, but both times Toy Town suffered injuries and they were forced to withdraw. In 2010, Zara was voted BBC Sports Personality of the Year, as her mother had been. At the 2012 Games in London, Zara and her horse High Kingdom finished 8th individually, and the British team won silver. Zara's mother proudly presented her medal as other royals cheered. Zara met Mike Tyndall at the 2003 Rugby World Cup, which his team won. The pair wed in 2011. Mike retired in 2014, and rugby was added as an Olympic sport in 2016, so he never got a shot at Olympic glory. It's not just British royals who have gone to the Olympics astride a horse. Princess Haya bint Hussein, daughter of the King of Jordan, was the country's flag bearer at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. She competed in show jumping and finished in 70th place. In 2004, she became the second wife of Sheikh Mohammed, Emir of Dubai. In 2006, Haya was voted president of the International Federation for Equestrian Sports. In 2009, her husband and son were convicted of horse doping, and Haya was forced to step down. She divorced her husband in 2019 and moved to the UK. Haya has bred several champion racehorses and is often seen at the Royal Ascot with the British royal family. Natalie, Princess of Denmark, is the niece of Queen Margrethe II. She was on the dressage team in 2008 and won a bronze medal. In 2012, she took 12th individually and 4th in team. From 2017 to 21, she was the head coach of the Danish national team. She also owns her own stud farm. Winter sports are also popular among royals, who often spend holidays at ski resorts from a young age. Constantine von Liechtenstein was a member of the ruling princely family of the Alpine micronation. At 37, he decided to compete in the 1948 Winter Olympics in St. Moritz, Switzerland. He finished 99th out of 102 skiers in the downhill race. His cousin, Max von Hohenlohe, managed 45th in the 1956 Winter Olympics in Cortina d'Ampezzo, Italy. Their nephew, Hubertus von Hohenlohe, was born in Mexico but grew up in Austria. After meeting Andy Warhol at Studio 54, the prince launched a musical career under the alias Royal Disaster. Hubertus didn't qualify for the Austrian ski team, so he became the only athlete representing Mexico at the 1984 Winter Olympics in Sarajevo, Yugoslavia. He has competed in multiple skiing events in 6 Olympics between 1984 and 2014. His best result was 26th in 1984. The prince holds the world record for competing in 19 world championships, most recently in 2021, though he has never medaled. The 64-year-old prince dismisses talk of retiring. Aga Khan IV was the grandson of Imam Aga Khan III, the spiritual leader of 15 million Shia Ismaili Muslims around the world. He was born in Geneva, Switzerland, and attended the world's most expensive boarding school there. In 1957, his grandfather died, and his father, the notorious playboy Prince Ali Khan, who was briefly wed to actress Rita Hayworth, was skipped over. The 21-year-old prince became Aga Khan IV. He represented Iran in the 1964 Winter Olympics in Innsbruck, Austria. Out of 3 events, his top result was 53rd. With $13 billion, Aga Khan is the 5th richest royal in the world. Albert II, Prince of Monaco, is the son of American actress Grace Kelly. Her father, Jack, won 3 gold medals in rowing in 1920 and 24. Albert founded the Monaco bobsledding program and competed in 5 consecutive Winter Olympics from 1988 to 2002. The prince raced in both the 2-man and 4-man runs, but his highest result was 25th place out of 41. Albert also appointed himself flag bearer 3 times. 1988 was the same year Jamaica entered a bobsled team, which inspired the movie Cool Runnings. Albert has written a screenplay about his own struggle to convince his father, Prince Rainier, to fund his royal ambitions of going to the Olympics. The film has yet to find investors. Albert is a member of the IOC. He married Olympic swimmer Charlene Wittstock. She was born in Rhodesia and grew up in South Africa. At 21, Charlene won 3 gold medals at the All-Africa Games. At the 1998 and 2002 Commonwealth Games, she won silver. In 2000, she represented South Africa at the Sydney Olympics. Her relay team finished 5th. Later that year, while competing in the Mare Nostrum meet in Monaco, she met Prince Albert, who is 20 years her senior. Their relationship got in the way of her training for the 2004 Olympics, and she planned to compete in the 2008 Olympics as her swan song, but a shoulder injury prevented her from qualifying. In 2011, she and Albert married, and she became Princess of Monaco. Charlene is a global ambassador for the Special Olympics and began her own foundation to prevent child drowning. One more princely sport, sharpshooting, has had 2 royal competitors at the Olympics. Hakim, Prince of Brunei, nephew of the Sultan of Brunei, competed in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta and tied for 49th place. In 2000 in Sydney, he placed 45th. Ahmed Al Maktoum of the royal family of Dubai participated in shooting in 2000, 2004, and 2008. In Athens, he won gold in the double trap event, the first medal for the United Arab Emirates. His cousin, Maitha Al Maktoum, is the daughter of Sheikh Mohammed of Dubai. Sheikha Mathia won gold in karate in the Pan Arab Games in 2004 and 2007, and silver in the 2006 Asian Games. In 2007, Mathia was named Arab Sportswoman of the Year. In the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, China, Mathia became the first woman to carry the national flag of the United Arab Emirates. She finished 7th in Taekwondo. Injuries ended her martial arts career, so she switched to the very elite sport of polo. Royals don't just show up to the Olympics to compete. They are also a big part of planning and hosting the quadrennial event. The International Olympic Committee, or IOC, which organizes the Olympics, has had 550 members in its 128 years. 42 of them have been royals and 59 nobles. That's 18% aristocracy. In next week's episode, I'll keep the Olympic torch lit by telling the stories of 6 royal romances, which began at or around the Olympics. Want even more tea on history? Check out the History Tea Time podcast. Don't want to wait to see the next episode? Patrons get exclusive early access to all of my multi-part series. If you would like to join my Patreon and help me make more fascinating videos, click on the link in the description. Thank you for watching.